Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to take a close look at a brand new product from Anbenic. And this is one I'm quite excited for. This is the Pocket Air Retro Edition. I by the way love these retro thing style devices. But in my previous videos we did spoke about the Anbenic many times now. And most of them were Windows based devices. Yeah, more like mini PCs in a handheld. But not today. Today we're going to get ourselves an Android based device with the chipset, the MediaTek. The MediaTek 1200 is absolutely a very powerful chip. I wish they went for the Snapdragon, but I think this is also going to be interesting when it comes to gaming and emulation. Nevertheless, so let's do a quick unboxing together. What are we going to get with this Retro Edition? How does it look? And very important, how does it smell? Because these things smell very nice from Anbenic. I wish we had something we could do with YouTube that we can smell stuff. I love it. But specification wise, it's quite interesting what we're actually going to get. So first of all, we're going to get ourselves a 5.5 inch 1080p AM OLED display. First of all, we're going to get Hall sensing joysticks and even having an X-axis linear motor. Absolutely cool, and real gamers know gamers. I just love it how they presentate their products and how they packed it all up. It's more like that this is a very nice premium feeling. So when it comes to the outer shell, I was surprised to see that they're actually going to use the same shell that we have seen a couple of times now. But the first thing I'm always doing with these devices from Anbenic is just sniff it. Alright, enough sniffing. So let's get this piece of foam out. And one of the things I love about Anbenic, all the other devices, the presentation, everything has been assembled in boxes. So what are we going to get in here? The overall explanation how the software works, because when it comes to the Android software, this is not your typical device. It comes with special software that we're going to show you later on in this video. But here it will explain in English, and I think it's in Chinese, what you can do with this. And removing this tiny cool looking box, here we will find the cable. Yep, there we have the cable for assembly. But there's no power supply whatsoever. So where we did have this with, let's say, the other devices, we don't have this with the Retro Edition. Alright, so when it comes to the shell, it's exactly the same like the previous one we have reviewed when it all the other versions. And it has some pros and cons to that. Reason why, because when you're looking at the Hall sensor, like joysticks, they are great. But the D-pad, on the other hand, we're going to talk about it some more, because that is not my favorite thing. At the bottom we're going to get the speakers, the Type-C connection for charging and data transfer, and over here we have the option to implement an extra SD card. So I'm really happy they're using a Type-C port now. At the top we're going to get ourselves the output for the air, volume control and the on-off switch, and of course the shoulder and trigger buttons. And when it comes to the overall, let's say, noise of this thing, it's not bad at all. So when it comes to the shell itself, I do have a double feeling with this. Where I'm a big fan of the Anbenic devices, I must say this smaller model is not, let's say, my favorite one when it comes to the shell, but the overall comfortability is quite nice. When you're looking at the back, we have this very nice round shape, and it will give you some extra grip, and it's absolutely way better than most flat surface devices. Then we're going to get ourselves the similar trigger buttons and the shoulder buttons. But I must say, when you're looking at the comfortability, I will give this thing an 8 out of 10. But let's take a close look at the software itself. So take consideration when you're going to get this, you need to set it up like your Android phone. There will be no emulators installed whatsoever. So one of the things I really like about this particular device is that it comes with a very cool looking interface. Not the background that is changing, but an overall when you're looking at the way how it works. Pressing the Anbenic button over here will grant you the option to having all kinds of features. Maybe you can hear the fan going quite, let's say, loud in this case. It's not even the loudest setting. Now it sounds like a freaking vacuum cleaner, but you can mute it if you want to. It's all what you want to do. So if you want to play in a certain game that doesn't have a lot of power needed, you can always put it on mute if you want to. The same goes with the game mode over here. With the game mode we can change out the battery consumption, or how much watts it pulls from the battery. At the top we're going to find the usage. Here we're going to get ourselves the game mode, Handheld connection. It's one very cool feature. With the Handheld connection you can disconnect the buttons over here, nothing will be working at this point. So that's one of the cool features they implemented into the software. And that is what makes this thing very convenient to play. I've tried a couple of Android devices back in the day, but this thing is absolutely a very cool, let's say, overall software experience. But let's start with some games. First of all, where you can buy and play from the store, because there's some Play Store enabled, you can just basically get yourself games like Street of Rage number 4. Perfect when you're having physical controls. Okay, one thing I wanted to basically be clear about is the audio itself. So I have mixed feeling with the audio quality. It goes quite loud, I can't tell you that. But when it comes to certain music, I noticed that the mid and high sounds a little bit too pitchy. But also let's talk about the 5.5-inch AMOLED display that comes inside of this thing. I don't know if the camera is really picking it up, but I can tell you this thing looks really stunning. What I do also notice when you're looking at, let's say, Nintendo Switch, I have shown cases with a couple of different versions. The OLED displays look always slightly different compared with an IPS panel. But not in a bad way. The colors are completely more vibrant in my opinion and very good. And of course it automatically shuts down when you're making a video. Great! No, stand by. But let's talk about how comfortable this thing actually is when playing a game. So first of all, of course Street of Rage is one of those games I love to try out. So when it comes to navigation of the D-pad, it's absolutely great, I can tell you that. But there's one particular thing I don't like about the D-pad. So ANEO implemented the same kind of D-pad that they had with the different devices. And what you can see over here, that's the reason I'm putting it on so close an angle. You can see that it has a very long travel and it feels kind of smushy. But how does it actually result playing a game like Street of Rage? Already mentioned before, if you need to navigate through every single way, it is no problem. You do have this weird click feeling to certain directions. But if you need to do a super move, pressing forward twice very quickly, you can do it. But I've noticed when you're having a stress moment, need to do it very fast, sometimes my move doesn't come out that easily. And that's just due of the D-pad. The D-pad, in my opinion, they should make it, let's say, less smooshy. And even make it like a micro switch one. Even I prefer that over this smooshy long travel D-pad. But let's talk about these, let's say, joysticks, because I must say that I was quite surprised by it. Simply because when you're looking at the way how they are having a very short travel. And that is something I really started to like. Okay, so I'm being in the game. Because of the positioning, I'm always grabbing towards the joystick itself nowadays. But when you're actually playing it, that makes this thing so much more comfortable. Especially when you're using the D-pad and you need to cramp up your hand in a very strange way. It's absolutely not a pleasant way to play. But normally when we're having long travel joysticks, it's absolutely like a horrible thing to play certain games like Street of Rage 4. But because it's so quickly responsive, I can tell you it's absolutely great. And I ended up playing this game for at least a couple of hours with only using the freaking analog stick. And that is a miracle because I am a D-pad guy. But let's talk about the tiny buttons, because I am not a big fan of these things. They are way too small for my fingers. I have like quite fat fingers when it comes to these tiny buttons compared. Nevertheless, they are not bad. They have a very long travel and a very nice click to it. But when you're actually playing, I do have the same problem I'm having with my Nintendo Switch. I just hate these very tiny buttons. But how did it actually work when playing some Street of Rage? I can tell you that I still really enjoy this game. Where this is not the best control configuration, combined with the freaking joystick and the tiny buttons, I did have a blast playing this. It's by the way one of the first games I actually downloaded for the ANEO. It's so much fun, absolutely. Especially the short travel of the analog stick makes this game very nice playable for a long time. The video, I've shown you a couple of things that I loved about this device or that I just hated. So first of all, yeah, when it comes to emulation, there are quite a lot of limitations there. And I must say that is a little bit of a bummer if you want to have a device that can emulate a lot of things. For example, PlayStation 2 had a lot of issues due of the software compatibility and of course when it comes to just the emulator itself. Nevertheless, I think it's a very cool piece of technology, but personally I mostly played Street of Rage 4 because I just really enjoyed that game. And when it comes to the controls, yeah, I already talked about it a couple of times. Nevertheless, thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, let me know if you want to see anything running on this, and it would be great to see you in the next video.